Time is the most undervalued resource in the world. People protect their money, they chase opportunity, they track profit and count income. But time slips through their fingers like it doesn't matter, like they can get it back, like it's unlimited. But the truth is, once time is gone, it's gone forever. You can rebuild a bank account. You can recover from financial loss. You can earn more, but you cannot earn more time. And yet, most people treat time like it's a cheap currency. They trade it for distractions. They give it away to people and activities that drain them. They spend hours in front of the television in idle conversation, in loops of procrastination. And then they say they don't have time to chase their dreams. They say they don't have time to improve their health. They say they don't have time to invest in their growth. It's not a lack of time. It's a lack of urgency. If you really understood how valuable your time was, you would treat it differently. You would guard it. You would invest it. You would spend it only on things that move you forward. You wouldn't hand it out freely to people who don't respect it. You wouldn't burn it on habits that give you nothing in return. You wouldn't waste it waiting for the right moment. Because time is not just what life is made of. It's what you trade your life for. Every moment you live, you are spending your existence. Every decision you make about what to do with your minutes is a decision about the quality of your life. And yet people will argue over a few dollars, but they won't think twice about wasting entire days, weeks, years doing things that don't matter, for people they don't respect, for reasons they don't remember. The people who understand time are the ones who build real lives, not just successful businesses, not just careers. They build peace, freedom, fulfillment, because they know time is the currency of everything. Time is what allows you to think, to rest, to connect, to create. Time is the container for all value. And if you're not intentional with your time, someone else will be. If you don't design your day, someone else will use it. If you don't protect your time, it will be stolen by distractions disguised as opportunities. If you don't decide what matters most, you'll end up serving what matters least. People chase money because it feels like progress. It's visible. It's measurable. But time is silent. Time doesn't scream when it's wasted. It doesn't alert you when it's gone. It disappears in the background. Quiet, permanent, unrecoverable. And that's why it's so dangerous to ignore. Money comes and goes. You can lose it and make it back. You can find a new way to earn. You can cut expenses, grow assets, change jobs. But time is moving, whether you respect it or not, whether you use it well or not, whether you are conscious of it or not. And the people who win in life are not the ones who have the most talent. They're the ones who respect time the most. You can see it in the way they live. They don't waste hours explaining themselves to people who aren't listening. They don't give energy to things that don't grow them. They say no, often, and with clarity. They protect their mornings, their nights, their energy. They cut fast. They decide quickly. They execute with urgency, not because they're in a rush, but because they understand that the clock is always ticking. If you waste $1, you can earn it back. If you waste an hour, it's gone forever. And that math is non-negotiable. That equation never changes. And yet people spend years operating like they're rich in time and broke in money, when the truth is, time poverty is far more expensive than financial poverty. You can rebuild your income, but not your youth. You can recover from a bad investment, but not a wasted decade. You can fix a bad decision, but you cannot reverse the time it cost you. That's why time must be treated as sacred, as non-refundable, as precious, because it is. This isn't about becoming hyper-productive or never resting. It's about honoring time enough to rest well, to live well, to focus on what matters and let go of what doesn't. It's about living on purpose, not on autopilot. It's about remembering that every minute counts, even the quiet ones. If you want to know how someone values time, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Because people may speak about priorities, about purpose, about urgency, but their actions will reveal everything. How they begin their day, what they do with their idle hours, who they allow to interrupt them, what they postpone, what they protect. The world is full of people with ambition and no execution, people with goals and no follow-through, people with dreams and no systems. And in almost every case, it comes down to one thing. They don't value their time. Not really. They don't see it as the most finite resource they have. They treat it as if there will always be more, as if wasted time is no big deal, as if their best years can be casually handed to distractions and they'll figure it out later. But there is no later. There is only now. Later is a lie that convinces people to delay the decisions that would change their lives. It's the excuse people use to procrastinate on becoming the person they know they're capable of being. Time doesn't wait for you to get ready. It moves forward whether you move with it or not. You say you'll get serious next month. You say you'll launch the idea when things calm down. You say you'll fix the relationship, change the habit, start the project when the timing feels better. But what if that moment never comes? What if that better timing never arrives? And what if you look up one day and realize that what you postponed became permanent? Every time you delay action, you're choosing stagnation. You're making a silent agreement with mediocrity. You're saying, this version of me is good enough, even when you know it's not, even when you know something in your soul is screaming for more. Time rewards action, not intention. Progress does not respond to plans. It responds to execution. And execution begins with how you use your time. Not in big dramatic bursts, but in the everyday moments, the early mornings, the choices you make during your commute, what you do on your lunch break, how you wind down at night. It's all time. And it's either being invested or wasted. There's no neutral. The mistake people make is thinking time will always be there, that they'll have time to repair the damage, time to reconnect, time to become the version of themselves they dream about. But people die with their potential locked inside them, not because they weren't capable, but because they believed they had more time. You don't need more time. You need more urgency, more focus, more clarity. You need to look at your minutes the way investors look at dollars. Deliberately, intentionally, with precision. Because every hour of your life is a trade. You're exchanging it for something. The only question is, was it worth it? You can buy time with money, but you cannot buy time back. And yet, many people will work 60 hours a week to make more income, but won't spend an extra 10 minutes planning their day. They'll chase a dollar all day long, but won't stop to think about whether their direction makes sense. That's the tragedy. Being busy but blind, productive but misaligned. The people who get the most out of life are not always the richest, but they are the ones who understand time. They make room for silence, for reflection. They block their calendar to think. They say no to things that don't serve them. Not because they're selfish, but because they're focused. They know that their time is their life, and they won't spend it on anything that doesn't serve the mission. This is why boundaries matter. Boundaries aren't about control. They're about preservation. When you say no to low priority tasks, you're saying yes to your vision. When you decline the invitation that doesn't align, you're making space for something better. When you cut off the distraction, you're choosing direction. Time is not something you find. You don't stumble across an extra hour. You create time by eliminating what doesn't belong, by cutting fast, by deciding faster, by being ruthless about alignment. If it doesn't move you forward, it moves you backward. You don't need to be busy all the time, but you do need to be intentional. The most successful people aren't the ones who never rest. They're the ones who rest deliberately, who work deliberately, who show up fully, who don't let life run on autopilot. Autopilot is where dreams die, because autopilot is where time gets burned. It's where you find yourself doing things just because you've always done them, going places out of obligation, keeping relationships out of habit, saying yes out of guilt. Time disappears in the margins of those decisions. The difference between people who live fully and people who live frustrated is not that they had more time. It's that they used it differently. They weren't perfect, but they were awake. They were alert. They were honest enough to look at how they spent their day and ask, is this taking me where I want to go? That level of honesty is rare, but it is where everything changes. It's the point where you stop blaming your schedule and start owning your choices. It's the shift from excuse to responsibility. And once you own your time, you own your life. People say they're tired. People say they're stuck. People say they're overwhelmed. And yes, there are real challenges. But a major part of that frustration is rooted in time mismanagement, in spending too much time on the wrong things and too little time on the things that would actually change everything. So you simplify, you decide, you stop trying to do everything and start doing what matters most. You block time for thinking, you block time for growth, you block time for action, and you don't apologize for it because your future depends on it. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They load their to-do lists with 20 urgent tasks, race through the day reacting to interruptions, and then wonder why they're not making progress. They feel busy, they feel drained, but they don't feel fulfilled because activity without alignment doesn't lead to growth, it leads to burnout. Time doesn't reward the frantic, it rewards the focused. It rewards the person who's willing to pause, to zoom out, to look at the big picture. It rewards the person who's brave enough to cut through the noise and say, that doesn't matter. That doesn't move me forward. That's not where I'm going. You can't control time. You can only command your attention. And your attention is what determines the value of your minutes. If your attention is fractured, your time becomes worthless. If your attention is disciplined, like your time becomes powerful. So how do you take control of your attention? You stop trying to do 5 things at once. You stop multitasking. You stop letting your mind bounce from tab to tab, task to task, thought to thought without direction. You choose one thing. You commit to it. You pour your full focus into it. And in that focused space, you find depth. You find progress. You find the results that most people never see because they're too scattered, too distracted, too reactive to the world around them. Attention is like a spotlight. You can point it at everything and light up nothing, or you can narrow it and turn it into a laser. And lasers cut through steel. Lasers build legacies. Lasers get results. The highest performers in any field aren't the ones who do the most. They're the ones who do the most important things with relentless focus. They're the ones who understand that time is finite, energy is finite, and clarity is everything. And clarity only comes from asking better questions. Why am I doing this? Is this the highest and best use of my time? Does this align with my long-term mission? Or is this just a distraction disguised as urgency? People lose years of their life doing the wrong things really well. They get efficient at the unimportant. They get fast at the trivial. They become world-class at staying busy. But busyness is not the goal. Impact is. Growth is. Legacy is. And legacy isn't built in a rush. It's built in intention. It's built in the repeated decision to honor time, not just once, but daily, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when the easy thing is to fall back into the loop of distraction. Time is not about the clock. It's about choices. How you choose to respond to stress, how you choose to handle boredom, how you choose to structure your environment. Every moment is a fork in the road. You either choose alignment or you drift. And drift is dangerous because it doesn't feel wrong. It doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels normal. It feels like I'll get to it later. It feels like just this once. And before you know it, you've built a life of reaction instead of creation. But you can flip that script. You can build your days around what matters most. You can give your best hours to your best work. You can design your life like a builder, not live it like a bystander. Start by protecting your mornings. That's where your mental energy is highest. That's where your mind is clear. That's where you set the tone. If you win your morning, you set yourself up to win your day. But if you give your mornings to distraction, you start from a deficit. Design a morning that serves you, not a routine full of gimmicks, but one that's built around clarity. A few quiet moments to think, a review of your goals, a decision about what matters most today. Not 10 things, one thing. Because when you know your one thing, you stop chasing every other thing. You stop filling your day with fluff. You stop letting your time get hijacked by other people's agendas. And when people try to pull you off course, and they will, you respond with clarity. You say, I can't. That's not where I'm going. You don't explain. You don't apologize. You protect your time like a warrior protects their territory. Because time is territory. And if you don't defend it, it will be overrun. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Email by email. Distraction by distraction. Conversation by conversation. You don't need more hours. You need fewer leaks. You need to stop letting little moments of attention drift into meaninglessness. You need to guard your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. This is not about becoming robotic. It's about becoming conscious. It's about knowing when to rest and when to move, when to say yes and when to say no, when to double down and when to delete. Every high-impact person you admire has one thing in common. They're deliberate with their time. Not perfect, not rigid, but deliberate. They don't let days disappear without asking if those days were invested wisely. And neither should you. Your days are too precious to waste on what doesn't matter. Your future is too important to be postponed. Your time is too sacred to be handed to people and patterns that don't elevate you. You can measure money. You can see it in your account. You can track it, invest it, multiply it. But time is more subtle. You don't see it leaving. You just wake up one day and realize how much of it you lost. And if you're not careful, That realization comes when it's already too late to do something about it. That's why the most successful people live with urgency, not panic, not stress, urgency. The understanding that now is all they really have. The refusal to procrastinate on becoming who they were designed to be. The refusal to say, I'll figure it out later. Because later is a myth. You've seen people talk about their goals for years. You've heard them say they're going to start something, get in shape, launch a business, fix a relationship. But 5 years go by and they're still in the same place. Not because they couldn't do it, but because they believed time would wait. Time waits for no one. Not the inspired, not the talented, not the well-meaning. And it's not that they didn't want it. It's that they didn't move. They didn't build momentum. They didn't make time their ally. They treated it like it was optional. But time is not optional. Time is the currency you use to buy every outcome in your life. Health, it takes time. Wealth, time. Mastery, relationships, freedom, fulfillment, all of them take time. And if you don't respect it, it will punish you silently. That's the cruel trick of time. It doesn't always tell you when you're making a bad investment. You don't always feel the loss right away, but it accumulates. One wasted morning, one ignored opportunity, one more TV show, one more delay. It adds up. And you don't see it until you look back, until you feel the gap between where you are and where you could have been. And that gap isn't because you lacked talent. It's because you didn't honor the time you were given. That gap is your proof. That drive you feel when you regret lost time, that's your reminder. It's not meant to shame you. It's meant to wake you up, to show you how much further you can go if you decide to use time differently. And you can. It's not too late. No matter how much time you've wasted in the past, you can start now. You can build a different rhythm. You can create new momentum. You can make decisions that your future self will thank you for. Start by asking one question. If I use my time like it mattered, how would I live? Because that question reveals everything. It reveals what you need to stop doing. It reveals what you need to start doing. It reveals what you've been avoiding. And then you go further. Ask, if my time was currency, would I be broke or wealthy? Look at your calendar, the way you'd look at your bank statement. Is it full of compound interest investments, or is it bleeding you dry? Are you making time deposits into your future, or are you spending your prime hours on liabilities? Things that drain you, distract you, delay you. Because if time is your most valuable asset, then you should treat your schedule like you'd treat your savings. And when you do that, you begin to see just how much power you've been given away. You start to see how expensive that relationship really is, how costly that habit has become, how much opportunity you've lost by saying yes to things that didn't deserve your attention. You start to see how quickly your life can change when you say no, when you reclaim your hours, when you prioritize differently, when you block your time like it's sacred and stop letting other people's urgency become your emergency. The word no is not rejection. It's protection. It protects your mission. It protects your rhythm. It protects your energy. You don't owe anyone access to your time just because they ask. You train people how to treat your time. And the way you treat your own time tells the world whether or not to take you seriously. If you treat your time like it's expendable, so will everyone else. If you respect it, Others will learn to respect it too. You won't always get it right. You'll slip. You'll get distracted. You'll let things steal your time. That's part of the process. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness. The goal is urgency. The goal is alignment. Because when your life is aligned, your time is optimized. You stop trying to fill the calendar. You start trying to fill your life with meaning, with movement, with progress, with the moments that matter. You stop trying to escape your time through numbing and distraction, because now your time has purpose. It has weight. It has urgency. You begin to understand that every hour is a gift, and the only way to honor it is to use it. So the next time you're tempted to waste time, pause. The next time you think, I'll do it later, pause. The next time you feel yourself reaching for distraction, pause and ask, is this the life I want to live? Is this how someone who values time behaves? There's a reason they say time is the great equalizer. No matter who you are, where you come from, what resources you have, everyone wakes up with the same 24 hours, rich or broke, driven or distracted, focused or overwhelmed. The only thing that separates people is what they do with those hours. That's the most empowering and terrifying truth. Empowering because it means no one has an advantage over your time but you. Terrifying because once you realize that, you can't hide behind excuses anymore. You can't point fingers. You can't say, they got lucky. All you can do is ask, what am I doing with my 24? Some people spend their 24 building things that will outlive them. Others spend it watching. Some wake up and execute with purpose. Others let the morning decide their day. Some people know exactly where their hours go. Others look up at the end of the week and can't explain where the time went. It's not about hustle. It's about intention. It's about clarity. It's about knowing that every single day is a brick. And you are either stacking those bricks into something meaningful or you are tossing them aside like they don't matter. But they do. Every single one of them matters. The best time to build something great was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. And if you're not careful, you'll be saying that same line 10 years from now. You'll be saying, I should have started when I had the chance, when I had the health, when I had the time, when I had the idea. But what you're really saying is, I didn't treat time like it was urgent. And that regret, that feeling of, I should have, that's the most expensive cost you'll ever pay. More than debt, more than lost income. The cost of time you can't get back. That's why you must live with intentional urgency. Not in a panic, not in a frenzy, but with focus, with awareness, with the discipline to say, I'm not wasting today, because you don't get a refund on today. There's no rollover, no second attempt. You either use it or you lose it. And the way you use it isn't always about what you do. It's also about what you don't do, what you decline, what you delegate, what you delete. People think productivity is about doing more, but in truth, it's about doing less, but better. You can't build something meaningful if you're constantly saying yes to everything. If your calendar is filled with things that don't match your mission, your calendar is costing you. And that cost shows up in your stress, in your results, in your energy. This is where most people sabotage their time. They say yes out of guilt. They overcommit. They say maybe later instead of no period. And the next thing they know, they're stuck in cycles they never chose, doing things they don't value, burning hours they'll never get back. And deep down, they feel it, that quiet frustration, that exhaustion that doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much of the wrong things. Time isn't what drains them. Misalignment is. You fix that not by grinding harder, but by deciding clearer, by asking, what matters most right now? What will move my life forward? What will create the most momentum? What am I doing out of habit that needs to be cut? And then you act, not tomorrow. Now, because once you get honest about your time, everything else gets honest too. Your priorities get sharper. Your decisions get faster. Your distractions lose their grip. You begin to live like time is expensive, because it is. You begin to value presence over pretending, growth over gossip, movement over maintenance. You stop entertaining things that don't evolve you. And here's the paradox. Once you start treating time like it matters, you actually begin to feel like you have more of it, because clarity creates capacity. Focus expands space. Momentum makes everything feel lighter. You're no longer drowning in obligation. You're operating in purpose. You're no longer controlled by the clock. You're commanding it. That's the shift that changes everything. But it's not a one-time shift. It's a decision you make every single day. When you wake up, when you plan, when you choose what to focus on, when you close out your night and decide what mattered and what didn't. And every time you choose wisely, you get better at it. Your time awareness sharpens. Your distractions lose power. Your old excuses dissolve. Because the version of you that misused time no longer exists. You've grown past them. You've moved forward. You've elevated your rhythm. And now every hour has weight. Every task has intention. Every yes has integrity. You've stopped spending time and started investing it. Most people think wealth is about what's in your account. But real wealth is freedom. And freedom is measured in time. Time to create. Time to breathe. Time to live on your own terms. Time to do work that matters. Time to be present with the people you love. Time to stop and think. That is real wealth. You can have all the money in the world and still be poor in time. You can have status, titles, influence, and still be bankrupt when it comes to margin. And without margin, you live reactive, tense, rushed, always chasing, never arriving. That's not freedom. That's just a different kind of prison. One dressed in nice clothes and fancy words, but it's still a trap. Because no matter how much money you earn, if you don't learn to protect your time, you'll never be rich where it counts. And protecting your time doesn't mean hiding. It doesn't mean becoming selfish. It means becoming precise. It means being clear about what matters most and being unapologetic about protecting it. It means redesigning your life so that it reflects your real values. Not just the ones you talk about, but the ones you actually live. Because your calendar reveals your true values. Your routine is the evidence of what you actually believe is important. You can say health matters, but if there's no time blocked for it, it doesn't. You can say family matters, but if you're always too busy, it doesn't. You can say growth matters, but if you don't prioritize it, it's just talk. Time doesn't lie. It shows you exactly what you've committed to, and that truth is either liberating or convicting. But either way, it's your path forward, because once you see it clearly, you can begin to make changes. You begin to elevate your standard. You stop giving your best time to your worst habits. You stop scheduling your priorities around your distractions. You flip the model You start scheduling your distractions around your priorities. You give your best hours to the most meaningful work. You create space, not just to do more, but to feel more, to think more clearly, to breathe again. Because time wealth isn't about being idle. It's about being aligned. It's about having the time to pursue your best life, not the life someone else wants for you, not the life that impresses other people, but the one that feels deeply right when you're alone with your thoughts. You reclaim your time by redefining your definition of success, not by how much you have, but by how freely you can live, not by what you earn, but by what you can walk away from, not by how loud your life is, but by how centered it feels. And you build that kind of life one decision at a time, 1 hour at a time. You ask yourself, is this decision buying me time or stealing it? Is this habit compounding in my favor or against me? Is this path taking me closer to peace or further from it? Peace doesn't happen by accident. It is protected. It is cultivated. It is created by saying no to everything that fights against it. That means setting boundaries. That means eliminating commitments that drain you. That means making space for stillness, for joy, for the things that matter. Not everything that's urgent is important. Not everything that's popular is aligned. And not everyone who wants your time deserves it. You don't owe people your availability. You owe yourself your future. So you stop apologizing for protecting your time. You stop explaining your decisions to people who won't understand your mission. You stop asking permission to take control of your calendar. You take ownership. Because this is your life, and your time is your life. That's when you start living intentionally. That's when time begins to work for you, not against you. That's when you stop feeling overwhelmed and start feeling powerful. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. You've stopped filling your time. You've started focusing your time. You've stopped treating your time like it's infinite. You've started treating it like the precious, non-renewable currency it is. And every decision you make now reflects that awareness. You are no longer running your life from a place of fear or obligation. You are operating from alignment. You are making time-based decisions from vision, not from pressure, from truth, not from urgency, from clarity, not from chaos. And that clarity makes you powerful, because now, when an opportunity shows up, you know if it fits. When a distraction shows up, you know if it's worth it. When someone demands your time, you know if you should say yes. Because you are no longer reacting. You are leading. You are no longer managing time. You are mastering it. And that's the difference between drifting through life and designing it. The world rewards urgency, but it rarely teaches intention. You're taught to move fast, respond quickly, be productive. But if you move fast in the wrong direction, what good is the speed? If you're productive doing things that don't matter, what good is the output? Most people don't need to go faster. They need to go deeper. They need to reconnect with the why behind their movement. Because what's the point of saving time if you use it to fill your life with things that don't align? What's the point of efficiency if you use it to accelerate your drift? Saving time isn't the goal. Living aligned is. And that requires more than time management. It requires clarity of purpose. When you're clear on your purpose, time becomes easier to command. You don't spend half the day wondering what to do. You don't jump from one thing to another without direction. You don't say yes just to stay busy. You move with precision. You move with weight. You move like your minutes matter. And when you live like that, You stop being pulled by pressure. You stop chasing what everyone else is chasing. You start building what only you can build, because you know what matters to you. You know where your energy belongs. You know what gets a yes and what gets a no. Most of the chaos in people's lives comes from indecision. They spend hours wavering, days stuck, weeks doubting. Not because they're lazy, but because they don't know what really matters. And until you know what matters, everything seems important. Everything feels urgent, and you become reactive instead of proactive. Time doesn't respond to your intention unless it's backed by decision. You must decide clearly, unapologetically, what your life is about. Not someday. Now, not in theory, in practice. Because until you do, time will slip through the cracks of your uncertainty. But when you decide, everything shifts. You begin to build around your values, not your distractions. You begin to structure your calendar around your purpose, not other people's priorities. You begin to live your day like it's connected to your destiny, because it is. Every hour you spend aligned is an hour that compounds. It builds something. It grows something. It connects you to something deeper. Every hour you spend misaligned is an hour that depletes you. It delays you. It disconnects you. And if you're tired all the time, if you're frustrated with your progress, if you feel like you're working hard but not moving forward, ask yourself, am I working on the right things or just the loudest things? Am I investing time into the person I'm becoming or just reacting to what's in front of me? Your time is not just how you get results. It's how you build your identity. You become what you consistently do. And if you spend your time reacting, you build a life of reaction. If you spend your time creating, you build a life of intention. If you spend your time chasing, you build a life of stress. But if you spend your time focusing, building, choosing with care, investing with courage, you build a life that reflects who you really are, a life that makes sense to you, a life that brings peace, not just progress. Because peace isn't the absence of work. It's the alignment of work. Peace is what you feel when your actions match your purpose, when your calendar matches your calling, when your time used reflects your values. And you only get there by making different decisions, small ones, daily ones. Decisions like, I don't need to attend that meeting. I don't need to be on that call. I don't need to chase that opportunity. I don't need to explain myself. Your time doesn't need to be justified to people who don't understand your journey. You don't need to validate your boundaries. You don't need to defend your silence. You just need to honor your direction. Because time is sacred, and sacred things are protected. Sacred things aren't handled casually. They're not left exposed. They're not handed out freely. Your time is your life, and your life is too valuable to be spent on things that won't matter a year from now. The greatest gift you can give to your future self is the decision to become more intentional with your time now. Not when you're less busy, not when things calm down. Now, because now is all you really have. And when you get to the end of your life, it won't be the money you remember. It won't be the stuff. It will be the time, who you spent it with, what you built with it, how much of it you wasted, how much of it you protected, how much of it you used to become everything you were capable of being. So decide today to change your relationship with time, to treat it like treasure, to spend it like it counts, because it does. Every minute does. Every choice does. Every day is either a deposit into your legacy or a delay of your potential. Your time is your most honest mirror. It reflects your focus, your fears, your priorities, your patterns. It doesn't lie. It doesn't hide the truth. It shows you exactly who you are and what you value, not by what you say, but by what you do. That's why the fastest way to change your life is to change how you use your time. Change what you prioritize. Change what you say yes to. Change what you protect. Because when you change your time, you change your direction. And when your direction changes, your life has no choice but to follow. You don't need a new calendar app. You don't need another color-coded system. You need courage. Courage to make hard decisions. Courage to walk away from time-sucking obligations. Courage to let go of the familiar patterns that feel productive but keep you stuck. Because most people aren't trapped by circumstance. They're trapped by habit. Habits of delay. Habits of people-pleasing. Habits of self-distraction. Habits of saying, I'll do it tomorrow. But if your tomorrow never comes, your potential never does either. You don't break those patterns by waiting. You break them by acting. Now, in the middle of the doubt, in the middle of the pressure, in the middle of the temptation to delay, that's where new futures are born. Not when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. Your life becomes extraordinary the moment you start treating your time like it already is. When you stop treating time like it's guaranteed. When you stop wasting it on things that don't serve who you want to be. You stop going to events you don't care about. You stop saying yes to people who only call when they need something. You stop watching other people's lives while yours sits on pause. You stop reacting to everything and start choosing intentionally, relentlessly. Because the ones who live fully aren't the ones who got lucky. They're the ones who got serious about their time, about their habits, about their mission. They realized they couldn't afford to give another hour to anything less than their purpose. And the same is true for you. Your next breakthrough isn't waiting in a book or a seminar or a new system. It's waiting in your next decision. The decision to cut the noise. The decision to protect your mornings. The decision to create before you consume. The decision to choose what matters. Every distraction comes with a cost. Every delay is a withdrawal from your future. And you can't keep spending your time like you've got a secret stash waiting for you later. You don't. This is it. This is the clock. This is your life. You want to build something great? Start here. Start by becoming someone who does not tolerate wasted time. Someone who does not need to be reminded of their vision. Someone who moves with clarity, with strength, with urgency, because they know time is not infinite. You'll feel resistance, you'll feel discomfort. But every time you choose action over avoidance, you build momentum. Every time you shut the door on distraction, you gain back power. Every time you invest your time with intention, you rewrite your future. And if you stay consistent, if you keep choosing wisely, there will come a day when people ask how you did it, how you changed, how you moved so far so fast. And you'll know it wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was time used differently. Time invested with courage. Because while they were waiting, you were working. While they were drifting, you were building. While they were planning, you were executing. And over time, those differences compounded. Not overnight, but daily, quietly, faithfully. And now your life looks different because you chose different. And it all started the day you got honest about your time. The day you stopped making excuses and started making decisions. The day you stopped asking for more time and started using what you already had. That's your edge. That's your power. That's your freedom. Not more hours, but more ownership. Not a different schedule, but a different standard. Not a new tool, but a new truth. Time is the most valuable thing you will ever possess. And from this moment on, you protect it like it is. You spend it like it matters. You live like it's finite, because it is. And once you do that, your whole life elevates. Your work, your relationships, your peace, your progress, your purpose. When you truly grasp the value of time, something shifts in you forever. You stop playing small. You stop wasting days. You stop thinking like a bystander in your own life. You start moving like a builder. You start thinking like an architect. You start deciding like a leader. You become conscious, intentional, selective. You say yes with conviction and no without guilt. You begin to understand that every hour is a vote for the life you want or the life you're trying to outgrow. And you vote with action. You vote with presence. You vote with focus. Time gives you one chance, not one day, one life. You don't get a practice round. You don't get a second edition. You get this one life, and how you spend it is entirely up to you. Not the world, not your history, not your circumstances. You, your choices, your use of time. And that's what makes time sacred. It is the most powerful equalizer, the most valuable currency, the most honest measurement of commitment. It doesn't care what you say. It reflects what you do. You can chase money and status and likes. But if you sacrifice your time for things that don't matter, you'll always feel behind. You'll always feel like something's missing. Because deep down, your soul knows when your time is being spent on something that doesn't align. But the good news, you can change at any moment. You can shift your calendar today. You can rewrite your priorities right now. You can stop waiting and start investing. You can stop drifting and start designing. You don't need permission. You just need the courage to own your time. Because when you do, when you protect your hours, honor your energy, and align your life around what matters, you become unstoppable. Not because you're doing more, but because everything you're doing has weight, has purpose, has direction. And that's the kind of life that feels like peace, like clarity, like strength. Not because your schedule is perfect, but because your heart is aligned, your actions are aligned, your days reflect your values. You look back and realize you didn't just fill time, you built something. You didn't just pass days, you made them count. You didn't just exist, you left something behind. So from this day forward, you live differently. You plan differently. You rest differently. You build differently. You lead differently because you understand what most people never will. Time is more valuable than money, and you will never waste it again.